Hey everyone, this is Tyler here. It is June 26th, and quick topic here, and that is why I think the victim mindset of Russian-speaking Estonians is stupid. I've spoken about different issues in previous videos, and one topic in particular that I find interesting is the Russian-speaking Estonians in Estonia, who often claim to be Russians, but they are Estonians mostly. There are exceptions of first generation immigrants and other relocations, but most of them are actually or were actually born in Estonia, at least anyone under the age of 30. Many of these people have this victim mindset, this victim complex that I don't understand. After having lived here for about 10 months, it's very bizarre to me. I say that as someone who's a foreign person who lives here, who goes through the day-to-day challenges of being a foreign person far from my home country. Many of these people will claim and act as if they're foreigners that aren't in their home country, even though they grew up in Estonia, they speak Estonian, they have spent almost their whole lives here, and yet they claim to act as victims, to act as outsiders, which is ridiculous for many reasons. The first one being is that they are given documents, most of them. There is almost no Estonian that is born to Russian-speaking parents that does not get Estonian documents. They get an EU passport, they get EU everything. They have EU benefits, and I would actually argue in many cases they actually have it better, because the ones who have close ties, who have immediate family members from Russia, they could also very easily obtain a Russian passport if they chose to live in Russia. This is a huge bonus that even many Estonians don't have. Surely not people from outside Europe like myself. This is a huge advantage, and this is just one example of their actual benefit of being from a country like here. The second area that I often hear them mention is in the labor force, which I don't understand, being that I encounter many people in the labor force who have Russian last names and sometimes first names. Yes, do they always have the high up positions? No. But if you were to ask some of those people in those positions, some of them often had a parent who was Russian. Their name may have been changed. They may have had other situations, and for whatever reason, they don't have a Russian name, even though one of their parents actually may have been Russian speaking. This is actually quite common. Likewise, there's many people in finances and real estate, technology, who are very prosperous here, who actually do come from Russian-speaking origin. So this makes no sense when they speak in terms of the labor force, when there's plenty of opportunities for these people. In fact, in some ways, there's probably more opportunities, being that they often know 3 languages. They know Estonian, they know Russian, they know English. This is actually probably more of an advantage. There is so much Russian use now in Estonia that often you could probably use more Russian than Estonian, in fact. And this is actually often considered a primary language in certain work sectors here in Estonia. Oftentimes there are foreign people. There's people from US, from Asia, Africa, Europe, everywhere. These people often do have real struggles. They have real obstacles. They may have been not provided with documents. They may have other issues, financial problems. These people often will have more serious issues than the Russian-speaking Estonians. When we look at like the banking sector, when we look at financing for buying property, for buying cars, all these things, people often obtain credit to buy these. Many of the Russian-speaking Estonians can obtain credit, just like Estonian-speaking Estonians. On the other hand, many non-Europeans cannot obtain big credit lines. They may be able to obtain a little credit, but not nearly enough to buy property, to buy a car. So often they have to either have their own source of credit from their home country, or they have to have the cash up front to buy these things. And this is another big area that is often unrecognized by this group of people. They are given plenty of access to credit. Another area is relationships. This is a big area here. I see many Russian-speaking Estonians who seem to have very good friendships. They have very good long-term connections, and they seem to remain real close to these people for many years. Even more so probably than I see of Estonian-speaking Estonians. Likewise, they often have first access also to their women. They can often, there's not a whole lot of issues for them in terms of relationships and possibly finding a partner for marriage. This seems to be quite the norm. I noticed in Estonia that many Russian-speaking Estonians seem to have an easier time finding long-term partners or spouses than Estonian-speaking Estonians, younger generations now. This seems to be becoming more of a trend here, and it just kind of shows you that perhaps there's more of a sense of normalcy, of tradition with this segment of Estonians that is unfortunately going kind of sideways with the Estonian-speaking Estonians. The next area is the ability to travel and to relocate easily. Estonians have European Union passports, which immediately entitles them to live in many of the European Union countries without many difficulties. This is a huge plus for people of the European Union. There's also non-EU countries that are flexible with European Union citizens, and it's a very easy situation to go to those places to live. This isn't the same situation with people that are from places like Russia, from Ukraine. They don't have this benefit. A EU citizen has more advantage if they are trying to relocate to other countries outside Europe, to America, to Canada, Australia, Asia. These countries also would value a European Union passport more highly than other passports such as a Russian or Ukrainian passport. This gives a lot of advantage for people in Estonia who want to move, to live somewhere else, to study somewhere else. This is an advantageous situation. These Russian-speaking Estonians have ability to access most of these benefits. When you look at a country like Russia, the average Russian person doesn't have nearly the same benefit here if they want to move and live somewhere else. If they want to study somewhere else, they have to go through a completely different process, more complicated and more strict. It's more likely that they'll get rejected, especially if they want to move somewhere to work and live. And this is just the reality. Russian-speaking Estonians don't have to deal with this. So this is, another benefit of holding this kind of passport. Education is another area. When we look at most of the European Union countries, education is pretty accessible and open for most people from elementary through university. And this is no exception in Estonia. And for Russian-speaking Estonians, they have a lot of access to free or close to free education starting in grade school. Oftentimes, they have schools that are specifically for Russian-speaking people. From people I've spoken to, these schools have instruction in both Estonian and Russian. And these are funded by the country, funded by the government. This is how the system works here. Now tell me how a system can be against someone when they have schools specifically designed and funded for these people. It makes no sense. And then when we look at universities, most of these same people can also apply for the same universities that all the other Estonians apply to. Study either for free or study for a very reduced tuition if they meet the right benchmarks. And this is just the reality. This is accessible. Education is very open for all people. Another example, and this reminds me quite a bit of my country, America. Russian-speaking Estonians are still having children, and often having more children than Estonian-speaking Estonians. This is really obvious when you go to certain parts of Tallinn, into other cities around the country. You can hear a lot of Russian being spoken with younger families. It's more common in some parts of the city than Estonian. And I see many young people that are speaking Russian, they're conversing, and it's very obvious that the Estonian or Russian-speaking Estonians are having kids still. They're probably having more kids than Estonian-speaking Estonians. And having kids is very pricey. It's very difficult. It requires a lot of expend and time and energy. In most places, that equates to the country having a lot of benefits, to a country offering a lot of subsidies. And this is definitely the case here. For these trends to occur in most countries that aren't real prosperous, there has to be a lot of benefits being provided by the state, by the country. And it's clear that Estonia grants just as much benefits to the Russian-speaking Estonians as Estonian-speaking Estonians. The last era is their ability to remain united and to be able to carry on day-to-day life as they see fit. In countries that are oppressive, that don't permit people to express themselves, to do and say as they please, these are countries that truly are treacherous, and people are victims of these countries. This is not the case. People have free expression in Estonia. These people of Russian cultures can do and say as they please for the most part. There may be some exceptions here, but they can do most everything that they want to do, and this is not oppressive. They are not victims here. There's other cultures, I would argue, that would be more victims in this country than these people. And this is just my take on it, and I look forward to people's feedback, and give me your comments below. Thank you.